There can be only one. Listen, the highly anticipated Highlander reboot is finally gearing up, and Henry Cavill just gave us fans a massive, heart-pounding reason to get insanely excited. With a brand new first look, dropping and teasing his incredible transformation into the iconic Connor MacLeod, I can safely say the hype train hasn't just left the station, it has strapped on rocket boosters. If you are a hardcore fan of the original 1986 cult classic like I am, you already know deep in your bones that this franchise holds a wildly special, irreplaceable place in cinematic history. It practically defined an era. It gave us those tragic immortal warriors, the absolute adrenaline rush of Queen's legendary Princes of the Universe, blasting through our speakers, and without a doubt, some of the most memorable, sparks-flying sword fights of the entire decade. But hey, let's be totally honest with each other. It also gave us a lot of really confusing, messy sequels that we try to lovingly ignore. If you are sitting there wondering exactly how this new iteration is going to handle the famously tangled, messy lore of the original films, who is joining this absolutely star-studded cast, and what kind of jaw-dropping action we can genuinely expect, you are in the exact right place. Let's sit down and break down everything revealed so far about the 2027 Highlander reboot, and talk about why it is already shaping up to be one of the biggest, most emotionally charged, and adrenaline-pumping action events of the entire decade. A John Wick vibe with broadswords. Enter Swordfu. Perhaps the single most exciting piece of news regarding this Highlander reboot isn't just who is standing in front of the camera, but the absolute mad genius standing behind it, Chad Stahelski.
As the visionary director and undisputed stunt master behind the entire John Wick franchise, Stahelski knows a thing or two, or a million, about elite, immersive world-building, shadowy underground societies with strict rules, and breathtaking, balletic action choreography that leaves you gasping for air. Just close your eyes for a second and imagine the fluid, high-octane, gun-fu combat of John Wick, but traded in for heavy, steel-clashing broadswords, lightning-fast katanas, and bitter, centuries-old blood vendettas. We are about to witness immortals battling to the absolute death, with a level of brutal martial arts and surgical weapon precision that this beloved franchise has quite simply never seen before. Henry Cavill is already world-famous for his intense, almost superhuman dedication to physical, demanding roles. I mean, we all collectively dropped our jaws at his incredibly complex, savage sword choreography playing Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher. When you take Cavill's obsessive, passionate dedication to doing his own grueling stunts, and combine it with Stahelski's undeniable mastery of long-take, unbroken action sequences, we are practically guaranteed a visual masterpiece. Everyone, seriously, grab your swords, because the battles in this movie aren't just going to be cool, they are going to be absolutely legendary. A fresh starting point for a fractured franchise. Let's just be completely real with each other for a second. The continuity of the original Highlander franchise is notoriously, hilariously chaotic. Between the charm of the original Christopher Lambert films, the completely bizarre, head-scratching alien plot of Highlander 2, the quickening, the eventual nostalgic 90s TV series starring Adrian Paul as Duncan MacLeod, and those various wild anime spin-offs, just trying to distinguish what is canon from what is non-canon is enough to give anyone a massive headache.
Thankfully, this new Henry Cavill film is a hard, much-needed reboot of the very first movie. While it will absolutely likely borrow the core plot points and beloved characters that made us fall in love with the story in the first place, it is definitively hitting the reset button to chart a completely different, much cleaner course for future sequels. They thankfully won't be rigidly copying every single one of the previous movies or tying themselves in knots to match the TV show. This is a clean slate, a deeply respectful fresh start that honors the magic of the original concept, but expertly trims away all the confusing fat. That being said, we all know that nostalgic nods are always warmly welcome, and a Christopher Lambert cameo feels almost wonderfully inevitable at this point. It would be a massive, heartbreaking missed opportunity not to include the original Connor MacLeod in some fun, heartfelt, legacy-passing role, even if he's playing a completely different immortal this time around. Just to give a wink to the fans who have been here since day one. Decoding the first look footage, locations, and blades. Man, it has been a very long, exhausting journey getting this movie off the ground and into reality. Cavill himself humbly acknowledged this emotional weight when dropping the early footage, taking the time to thank fans for their immense, unwavering patience and promising that their long wait would be deeply rewarded. The early looks we finally got show Cavill as Connor MacLeod standing in two highly distinct, beautifully moody environments, a peaceful, serene Buddhist temple, and a dark, Gothic Christian church. The iconic look, Cavill is sporting the traditional, heavy long coat that hardcore fans will instantly, joyfully recognize from the original Christopher Lambert film.
However, Henry's brilliant new version is smartly updated to look a bit heavier, much more rugged, and highly practical for a man who spends his life hiding ancient, deadly weaponry from the modern world. The weapons. In the deeply rooted original lore, Connor famously wields two primary blades, and both of them are so deeply, emotionally significant to his tragic journey. The first is his Scottish long sword, the MacLeod sword, presumably given to him by a beloved clan member right before his terrifying first death on the muddy battlefield. The second, and perhaps far more famously, is the exquisite Ramirez katana. The footage heavily hints at a deep, emotional dive into the katana's beautiful history. In the classic lore, this legendary weapon was masterfully forged by the mythical Japanese swordsmith Masamune way back in 593 BC. It was lovingly given as a wedding gift to Ramirez when he married Masamune's daughter, Shikiko. Ramirez cherished that sword with all his heart, just as he deeply cherished his departed wife, viewing the blade as entirely one of a kind and holding onto it through the centuries. Connor only tragically begins using the katana after his beloved friend and mentor, Ramirez, is brutally slain by the Kurgan in 1547. Knowing that, the atmospheric scene of Cavill standing in the Christian church is a massive, goosebump-inducing callback to the original movie, where Connor bravely confronts the terrifying Kurgan on holy ground, right before their final, earth-shattering battle in the present day. The star-studded cast, Giga-Chad vs. Giga-Chad. The cast they have built surrounding Cavill is absolutely stacked to the ceiling, promising some truly incredible, electric on-screen dynamics that will effortlessly elevate this reboot to massive blockbuster status.
Dave Bautista as the Kurgan, the original Kurgan, played to absolute punk rock perfection by the amazing Clancy Brown, was a terrifying, towering Russian immortal who absolutely reveled in his own cruelty. Casting Dave Bautista in this massive role is pure, unadulterated genius. Bautista has proven time and time again that he can play deeply calculating, quietly menacing, and physically overwhelming villains. Just look at Dune or Blade Runner 2049. Prepare yourselves for the ultimate, ground-shaking physical showdown, Cavill versus Bautista. It's truly going to be a cinematic clash of the titans. Russell Crowe as Ramirez, stepping into the extravagant, velvet-lined shoes originally filled by the legendary Sean Connery. Crowe will play the seasoned, gloriously flamboyant immortal who finds a confused, frightened Connor and explains the brutal rules of the game. Crowe brings an incredible, undeniable weight and raw charisma to literally any role he touches, and seeing him mentor a young Cavill is going to be an absolute cinematic treat for all of us. Karen Gillan as Connor's wife. In the original film, Connor's Scottish wife had a deeply tragic, but relatively brief role without much agency or action. With a proven action veteran like Gillan stepping in, who has already excitedly confirmed she is using her natural Scottish accent for the part, expect this character to get a major, much-deserved upgrade. We are likely getting a richly expanded backstory in the past, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Stahelski gives her a brutal, heartbreaking fight scene against the Kurgan before her inevitable, tragic end. Jeremy Irons as the leader of the Watchers. The Watchers are a fascinating secret human society completely dedicated to observing and recording the hidden lives of immortals without ever daring to interfere.
According to the deeper, richer lore, they were actually created by Amulet the Akkadian after he shockingly witnessed the immortal Gilgamesh coming back to life, which is brilliantly based on the real-life ancient Sumerian epic of the King of Uruk. Jeremy Irons brings the absolute perfect, chilling level of gravitas, mystery, and quiet authoritative class needed to lead this ancient, secretive, and incredibly dangerous order. Retconning the lore, what exactly is the game? One of the absolute smartest moves Chad Stahelski can make as a director is taking a dedicated, John Wick, approach to this dense lore, meaning, showing us the world through action and consequence rather than over-explaining it to us with boring, clunky exposition dumps. Just like we slowly, thrillingly learned about the rules of the Continental Hotel and the terrifying High Table, we need to organically discover the hidden immortal world right alongside Connor. The entire Highlander universe revolves entirely around the brutal reality of the game. Immortals secretly walk among us every single day, pulling from a mysterious, invisible source of energy that miraculously allows them to heal from literally any mortal wound you can imagine. They don't know why they were created, but they know deep in their souls that they are instinctively, uncontrollably drawn to fight each other to the death. The rules they live by are absolute and terrifying. Battles are strictly, always one-on-one. There is absolutely no ganging up allowed. It's a duel of honor and survival. No fighting on holy ground, ever. Whether it's a quiet Buddhist temple or a towering Christian church, these sacred sanctuaries are strictly off-limits for combat, offering the only true peace these warriors ever know. And finally, the only way to permanently end the life of an immortal is by full decapitation.
The quickening. This is where things get wild. When an immortal tragically loses their head, the surviving victor violently absorbs their power, their centuries of hoarded life experience, and sometimes even their special, supernatural abilities, like future sight or those terrifying dragon dreams, through an explosive, glass-shattering, lightning-filled spectacle known to them as the quickening. They are all endlessly fighting their way toward the gathering, a terrifying, inevitable point in time when the last few remaining immortals are irresistibly drawn to a faraway land to battle for the prize, the ultimate, godlike combined power of all the immortals who have ever lived on Earth. There can be only one. I fully expect this reboot to wisely, thankfully ignore the convoluted alien origins of those older sequels and keep the mysterious nature of the source, beautifully grounded, deeply mystical, and intensely personal. A massive golden era for Henry Cavill. Let's just take a quiet moment to step back and fully appreciate the absolute geek empire Henry Cavill is building right before our very eyes right now. The next few years are going to be nothing short of a golden era for his fans. Not only is he passionately leading the charge for this 2027 Highlander epic, but his schedule is jam-packed with absolute dream projects for any sci-fi and fantasy lover out there. He is currently set to star as the legendary King Alfred in the highly anticipated live-action Voltron movie, also slated to hit around 2027. Beyond that massive undertaking, he is famously and passionately spearheading the highly anticipated Warhammer 40K cinematic universe for Amazon, acting as both the lead star and a fiercely protective executive producer to ensure the beloved lore is deeply respected.
Between leading massive, bloody cinematic battles with broadswords, piloting giant iconic mechs in Voltron, and commanding elite space marines in Warhammer, Cavill is firmly cementing himself as the undisputed, passionate, and incredibly hard-working king of geek culture cinema. He genuinely loves this lore just as much as we do, which is exactly why his take on Highlander feels like it is in incredibly safe, loving hands. Are you guys as incredibly excited for the new Highlander movie as I am? Do you honestly think Dave Bautista will make a scarier, better Kurgan than the original? Did you happen to spot any cool hidden Easter eggs in that first look footage that we completely missed? Please, let me know all your wild thoughts, theories, and emotional reactions in the comments below. With Chad Stahelski masterfully directing and Henry Cavill proudly wielding the sword, the 2027 reboot is truly shaping up to be an unforgettable, massive return to a legendary franchise. Let the game begin.